RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Rafael Sanchez. On this very busy Sunday morning, Indiana could soon see a significant drop in its graduation rate, all because of new federal regulations. The proposed bill that could help prevent students from being left behind. Plus, Sunday alcohol sales may be closer than ever to becoming a reality. The big step taken in the State House, what lawmakers are now saying. And if you rely on HIP 2.0, a major change, which you'll now have to prove. But first, Indiana could soon see a 12% drop in its high school graduation rate without changes to the diploma. The state is at risk of one of its diplomas not being counted under new federal regulations. Senator Dennis Cruz is pushing for a bill to establish a single high school diploma instead of 4 currently in place to ensure every graduate is counted.
What would that mean in terms of funding, in terms of, the quality of schools, potentially property values too?
Well, we don't know that the federal government would reduce funding. It's possible. That's a risk. That's a risk we'd have to take. So I don't know that it's worth the risk. I think we're better to put this bill and try to pass it so that we take away that risk that the federal government might change funding and reduce funding. So we just, to me, the federal government graduation rate can affect, the opinion of people in the community and about a school corporation. And I don't know if it doesn't merit that, but it still would be out there, and it still could affect people that this lower graduation rate would be put out there in the public for them to look at and say, oh, no, I don't want to send my kid to school that only graduate 68% instead of 80%. The biggest thing is that 12% population are some of our, in a sense, I guess you call it the neediest kids, and to put them in jeopardy and to have the community think they're not worthy of a regular diploma, it bothers me. So I think we need to keep kids' concern in our minds that we're doing this for the students. It's not an adult thing. We want to help the kids and help as many of them get a diploma as possible.
The debate will continue there at the State House. Superintendent of Public Instruction Jennifer McCormick has thrown her support behind the bill. If passed, she says it will result, in her words, in a fair and accurate reflection of school and student performance. Governor Eric Holcomb says developing a skilled workforce is the biggest challenge facing the state right now. In his annual State of the State address this week, Governor Holcomb pointed to more than 80,000 jobs that are unfilled in our state, he says, because of a lack of education and training, and he says it's a priority. He goes on to say one way to help bridge that gap is by requiring every public school to offer computer science courses. Currently, about half the districts do not.
Strengthening our workforce will be one of the most important things we've ever undertaken. It's going to take a long-term commitment and an all-in approach among many stakeholders in every community.
The governor also outlined plans to combat opioid epidemic, including a push to add 9 more medically assisted treatment centers across the state. You could soon have the option of buying beer or wine on a Sunday right here in Indiana. The proposal to allow the sale of alcohol on Sunday has cleared a major hurdle at the State House. The Senate Public Policy Committee's approval is the farthest a Sunday sales bill has made it in that chamber. For businesses, it's about the bottom line. Convenience and grocery stores like Kroger have asked for the ability to sell alcohol on Sunday now for years. Packaged liquor stores have lobbied against the idea until 2 months ago, when the Indiana Association of Beverage Retailers, they struck a surprise agreement with retailers to jointly back Sunday sales.
To the extent that Sunday sales becomes law, I think some stores will close, and unfortunately that is an unavoidable and disappointing reality.
The additional few hours that we're talking about are important to our customers, important to your constituents, and that's simply because Sundays are the second busiest shopping day of the week.
Let's keep talking about this issue. A representative for the Indiana Retail Council says the state is losing $12 million in alcohol sales to neighboring states. The bill moves to the full Senate next, which is expected to pass. Senate Republicans have called Sunday sales one of their top priorities. Governor Holcomb has asked for a work requirement as part of the state's application to renew the federal waiver that would allow HIP 2.0 to continue. The federal government is pledging to back states like Indiana that want to make work or community involvement a stipulation for eligibility for that program. The condition would apply to about 1/3 of able-bodied adults enrolled. That does not include the elderly or pregnant women. Now, the state wants to require those adults to work about 20 hours per week, be enrolled in school at least part-time, or participate in the state's Gateway to Work initiative. And that connects them with job training and employment services. While the Family and Social Services Administration backs this, the Indiana Institute for Working Families opposes the condition.
What we find mostly in the field is that people who can work are working. And so what we're left with are folks that may have some vulnerability, they may have some barriers to the workplace, and what would be a more effective strategy would be to identify those barriers and put some things in place that can help.
So what's next for this? This plan could face legal challenges over the concerns that some could lose their insurance. Indiana's U.S. senators have both endorsed President Trump's nominee for federal judge right here in Indianapolis. Republican Senator Todd Young and Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly introduced Indianapolis attorney James Sweeney during his nomination hearing Wednesday before the Senate Judiciary Committee. They both urged quick Senate confirmation of Sweeney for the position with the U.S. District Court that covers the southern 2/3 of Indiana. Sweeney is a partner with the Indianapolis law firm Barnes and Thornburg. Downtown property owners could soon face a new tax. An economic improvement district would be created to improve the quality of life for downtown residents. The first step for making this happen are petition signatures. But as Indianapolis This Week's Derek Thomas reports, not everyone agrees that this is needed.
This is a drawer full of petition signatures that have been collected, more than 40% of the required amount to present to the City County Council. The Economic Improvement District plan would raise $3.1 million a year for 10 years for a total of $31 million. Advocates say that is needed to keep Indy on track as a world-class city.
We have to do more because there are more people downtown. There's more density downtown. And the reason why we have more people living downtown is because it's a great place. How can we continue to move that forward in an environment where everybody is going to win?
That money would be used to hire people to clean, sweep streets, power wash sidewalks, and plant trees. Increase security by hiring off-duty police officers, homeless outreach, and provide amenities like dog parks. Hertz Real Estate Investments, which owns Salesforce Tower and 2 other downtown buildings, would pay $300,000 over the 10 years and has endorsed the plan. The Indiana Apartment Association has written a letter asking those commercial property owners not to sign the petition, not just because of the EID, but because of the Indianapolis Public Schools referendum that is looming.
We've kept downtown Indianapolis properties affordable, but you overlay those $1 billion tax increase as well as the EID $31 million over a 10-year period, you're going to see some significant rent increases that are going to impact affordability.
While the Indiana Apartment Association is opposed to the EID, Bob Newland, who lives in the Firehouse Square condos, sees the benefits. He is retired and now dabbles in artwork. Residential property owners like him would pay $100 annually.
I like it. I can accept it, and for me, I can't afford it. I think it's good. It's as I understand it, they've been established in other cities around the nation, and they work very well.
Commercial property owners would provide most of the money, but the tax would apply to all of the 1,167 property owners in the EID district bound by North, South, East, and West Streets. Derek Thomas, RTV6.
More details on this. There are 1,100 economic improvement districts in place in cities across the country. It's been about 4 months since Hurricane Maria made landfall in Puerto Rico, but as you can see, the devastation still remains. Senator Mike Delph is talking about his experience on the American island. As part of the FEMA Region 5 Defense Coordinating Element, Delph was activated and deployed with the Army on December the 8th and returned to the States back on January the 4th. In his time in Puerto Rico, Delph helped state and local officials with several resources, including housing, water, and clothing. He says homes are roofless still, roads are still crumbling, and lack power remains an ongoing issue. But he says there are still ways for you to help.
The biggest thing that we can do as fellow Americans in the States is to go down to Puerto Rico and spend money to help get their tourism economy back and humming. I think that will help as much as anything.
The Indiana State Senator also says it's also key to remember that Puerto Rico is not a foreign country, and that the people living there are American citizens on an American territory. After the break, our political insiders join us to discuss the issues. A new controversy for the president after he allegedly used a vulgar comment to describe poor countries. Indiana's House Minority Leader calling out national Democrats. And will Sunday alcohol sales become a reality?
On vehicles at Honda of Fishers.
Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. Our political insiders on deck. Mary Beth Schneider, formerly with the Indianapolis Star, State House reporter, and infamous blogger. Follow her on Twitter, Democrat Laura Beck, Republican Joey Fox. See, I like to get them smiling before we get into the issues, which a major political, obviously, upheaval in the City County Council in Indianapolis when Stephen Clay unseats Maggie Lewis as the president of the council. I don't think many people, at least outside of the weeds, saw that coming.
No. I talked to actually a former council member who said you could have blown him over, and I think that it shows massive dysfunction on the part of the Democrats. This is one of the only power bases that they have. They don't have anything at the State House, and yet they managed to give away some of it to the Republicans. And Monroe Gray, who's been on there a long time, was one of the people of the 5 who voted for Stephen Clay, and along with 9 Democrats to make Stephen Clay the president, and then says later, well, he didn't know that the price of that was committee chairmanships, including the all-important Rules Committee. Monroe Gray's been there a long time. It's hard to swallow that he did not know what he was giving up.
Joey Fox, a victory for county Republicans who have been in the minority now for a number of years.
This is the first time, I believe, in the city's history that a minority party is going to be chairing committees. Look, this thing came together because the Democrats fell apart. Kate Sweeney Bell could not hold this caucus together. The administration could not hold this caucus together, and so you've got an opportunity for Republicans to come up the middle and take some power and begin to have some influence. I don't think it's the right thing to do if you're in the minority to just sit back and say, well, let the Democrats just run it into the ground, and then we'll come back in 2019 and run on that. No, we're there. Let's take some committee chairmanships and let's begin to work on some of these issues and have some influence. Democrats are still in charge.
Lara Beck, will Democrats regret this, or is this how Stephen Clay sold it? It's going to be part of one city, allowing the minority party to have a voice at the table.
Well,
the spin has been interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I really go through the whole piece that, it's in disarray and things are fractured. I don't think that's the case. I think reasonable minds can disagree. I think reasonable minds can disagree as to how they want to govern. So I think that is what we saw there. What I do think is sort of funny is that the Republicans, it's all about taking power and taking control. It's not about good government. Every comment from them has been about, we're going to be in power. I think, though, what happens is that it does take away a key arguing factor for them. They can't say, oh, the Democrats are in charge, it's their problem. They can't say, oh, DPW is ineffective, it's their problem, because they're chairing DPW.
What will be the biggest change we'll see with this new outlook, with this new Republican-Democrat love fest?
I think it's a little hard to know yet because of that they control the Rules Committee, and so, again, they have the chairmanship of it. I should say Democrats still have a majority of the votes. Yeah. But Joe Hogsett comes across as weak, and he has to get his agenda through. So it'll be very interesting to see how that's handled. I don't think we'll know yet until they start having some votes.
A major issue on the political front, of course, the president making some vulgar statements about Haitians and about people from the continent of Africa. Will that impact at all Congress's ability to get anything done on immigration, DACA, the budget, you name it? Is this train off the rails?
Well, the train's been off the rails for a long time. I mean, how many times have we sat on this couch and talked about vulgar comments that Donald Trump has made?
Will it have an impact,
I think this went further.
Yes, I think it went further. Go ahead. You can speak. I'll cede my time to you.
You had apparently Lindsey Graham sitting there next to him at the Oval Office meeting saying this is not appropriate. You have Dick Durbin saying he said it repeatedly. You have Donald Trump on Twitter trying to deny it after the White House did not deny it for hours and hours and hours. It happened. Now they're saying, well, he was only talking about Africa. Oh my goodness, that does not make it better. You have an ambassador leaving, and then the same time be quitting over this. You have Congress trying to do DACA. They had this meeting where the president basically said, I'll sign anything that you send to me, and they come together, Republicans and Democrats, and looked like they had a deal worked out, and now it's blown up.
Joy, quickly, was the president misunderstood on this statement?
I wasn't there. I don't know. I'll just say this. Words matter, and they really matter when you're the President of the United States. And we've got to be careful. We can't, it doesn't help the country when people perceive that the President is coming across as racist and hateful and using this type of language. I'm not sure it's helpful to the country. Whether that impacts policy at the end of the day, we'll have to see.
Words do matter, and Terry Gooden, who is the House Minority Leader here in Indiana, in an article in Politico said that the National Democratic Party is out of touch with mainstream America. Is the National Party, Laura Beck, out of touch with mainstream America, specifically Hoosiers?
I think Representative Gooden makes some really good points in his article about that. And when you read that article and you look into it a little deeper, it's part of a larger report that has been commissioned by a congresswoman out of Illinois, Sherry Bustos. And so, having lived in one of the places, northern Minnesota, that is cited there, and having spent a lot of time in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, I do believe that the National Party, particularly some of the folks who are on both coasts, just don't really understand the Midwest as much as those of us who live there do. And so I think Representative Gooden puts together some very good comments about what he is facing in his district.
Republicans are having the same discussion within their own party, right, with the elites.
Sure, right? I mean, and this is a constant theme of American politics going back to our founding, right? On elites and populists from the bottom. I think what's fascinating though is we've seen this play out in Indiana before. I mean, Democrats used to control the Ohio River. In those districts in the Indiana House and in the Indiana Senate, and over time Republicans have swept up those districts. Representative Gooden's one of the last remaining folks down on that part of the state.
Part of that's due to the gerrymandering, though. I mean, part of that is due to how those districts are drawn. I mean, we
had to win the elections before you can draw maps. We had to win elections to draw maps.
That is true, and but mainstream is not white rural anymore. Mainstream is also suburbia. More people live in urban areas than they do in rural areas, and so both parties, I think, are struggling with the future.
Let's end this discussion quickly with a quick drink. Yes or no? Will we see Sunday sales? Yes or no?
Yes.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
Who's working for you?
The time is running out for students in Indianapolis to complete their one-match enrollment application for the 2018-2019 school year. Just one application online, Enroll Indy, lets families apply to any of the 60 IPS choice or city charter schools via one match. This is designed to make the enrollment process less of a hassle and less confusing by just having you fill out one application. Enroll Indy spoke to Indy This Week's Lauren Casey with what you need to know about the process.
Yeah, so it's really important to note that if you are happy at the school you're in and you have a third grader and you want that child to continue there next year, you don't have to use our system. Our system is really for, are you looking for kindergarten? You know, are you coming in for the first time? Or are you getting out of 8th grade, going to high school for the first time, and you don't know where you want to go? Or, you know, you finished middle school or finished 6th grade, going into middle school, you're looking for a 7th grade. Those are the 3 grades we see the most movement in. But then also, if anybody is new to Indianapolis, or they're just, maybe they want to try for a school that they want more than where they are now, they can use our system.
Because of Friday's ice storm, Enroll Indy extended the deadline to fill out the application. The new deadline is this upcoming Tuesday. Just go to the website enrollindy.org to find that application, and that will help match your child with an IPS school or a charter school.
In the 40s. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. It's time for the 6, so let's take a look at 6 things coming up this week in Indy. The Iconic Group is making a stop here in Indy on MLK Day. Not that guy, our producer, but this woman here. She's part of the Harlem Globetrotters. They'll bring their entertaining show right here to Bankers Life Fieldhouse. That's Monday at 2 p.m. And on that holiday, you can bring a donation like a canned good to some of the local museums and receive free admission for MLK Day. That includes places like Newfields, places along the White River State Park, and the Children's Museum is hosting some special events to commemorate this holiday. Well, the first open house is kicking off for that highly anticipated Indigo Red Line project. This first one is on Wednesday at 6 o'clock at Shortridge High School. There you can learn a little bit more about the project and its impact on you. Well, Mickey, Minnie, and all the princesses are lacing up their skates. Disney on Ice is coming to the Circle City with shows starting Wednesday night through the weekend here at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Tickets start at $13. And you may remember that we told you about some renovations to the Y in downtown Indy where the bike hub is. Well, those are wrapping up, and they'll have a community day and open house with tours and vendors there, giveaways all day long on Thursday. Plus, step inside the 2018 centerpiece home here. That's right, the Indianapolis Home Show is coming back to the State Fairgrounds. The show runs from the 19th through the 28th. That's what's on tap this week in Indy. Back to you.
Lauren, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Good Morning Indiana. And don't forget, you can follow all of the changing weather conditions on the RTV6 app. For Katie Hines and everyone here at Indianapolis This Week, thank you for joining us and have a great Sunday.